everyone. Welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me. I am so very excited to share with you guys this album. This is the first of 3 albums that I will be doing to document our trip to Alaska in 2025. Let me start off quickly by apologizing for my neighbor's dog. He is, for whatever reason, has been super barky this morning, and I saw him go inside and I thought I would be okay, but he has since come outside. So sorry, I've been putting this off and putting this filming off for so long. I just need to get it done. So hopefully he will be quiet. If it's not my cats, it's the neighbor's dog. So one of the two always stops me from doing this, but we're going to dive on in and hopefully he's not too distracting. So again, this is one of 3. We did a 9-day road trip through Alaska, and I knew well before going into this trip that I would be taking a ton of different photos. We had all kinds of different excursions planned. I knew just based on the beauty of Alaska in itself that this was going to be a monumental trip to scrapbook. So I did break it up. 3 days in will be in each album. This is the only one I've gotten completed, but it right now is by far my favorite album I have ever completed, and you guys will see why. The combination of large photos along with the pocket pages in this album, I just love the way that it comes together to tell the story of this trip. So, talk about the album quick. This is a 10x8 album from Ali Edwards. This is it has the rings inside, and it has it's a combination of pocket pages, a combination of out of the page protector pages, and full-size photos, which you guys will see in just a minute. 10x8 albums, have never used them, and I love them. I absolutely love them. I will be using them again and again and again. I do wish that Ali Edwards would come out. I think, did I mention that? The 10x8 album is from Ali Edwards. She is the only designer that I can find that has the 10x8 album. I wish that she would come out with more. I've bought pretty much everything that she has, which isn't a lot. I bought 3 of these so that all 3 of mine would match. I bought some other ones along the way, but I wish that either she would come out with more or other designers would come out with more 10x8 options, because I have really loved working in this 10x8. So we'll talk through this a little bit. We'll talk through, some of the different page protectors that are in here, as well as, what I've done outside of the page protector, that kind of thing. So we'll just go ahead and dive on in. So you can see from the front cover here, this is kind of a cream color with gold polka dots on the front. And on the inside, move this over here, we've got stripes. So there's black stripes on the diagonal on the inside. On all 3 albums, I have added this little Alaska die cut here. I got this from scrapbook.com, and it's obviously the AK for Alaska, and I just love that touch. I do think, now that I've gone through and looked at this, I do think I'm going to use my Studio Calico Mega Date stamp and add the dates that are in this album on the front cover of each of them. I think that'll just be a nice touch. So that's the inside cover. So then I went ahead and took an 8.5 by 11 photo, which actually this would be 11 by 8.5, and added this as my title page. So again, I love the visual impact of a large photo. This was perfect because with this size of album, I was able to use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of photo paper and not have to trim it down at all. All I did simply was punch the holes in it, pop it in here, and we were good to go. So 8.5 by 11 is the perfect outside of the page protector size for these large photos. This is a photo that I took somewhere along the trip. I'm not quite sure where this was taken, but I wanted something that kind of symbolized our entire trip. Now, it would be better if there were glaciers on here, but I didn't have that kind of photo. But I thought this one was really pretty and really summed up our trip to Alaska. I used digital stamps from Ali Edwards and just added the Alaska 2025 on there. Perfect title page, simple and easy, and done. Then on the back side, I've done some journaling. So just a little backstory on this trip. This trip started originally as a cruise to Alaska. We had booked this, I don't know, a year and a half in advance. We paid for everything. We had planned all our excursions, everything. And then somewhere along the line, I changed my mind. And I decided that for Alaska, this was a bucket list trip for me. Neither one of us had ever been to Alaska. It had been somewhere I have always wanted to go, but there were so many different things that I wanted to see and do that a cruise wouldn't have allowed us to do that. We would have been stuck on the cruise ship timeline. We would have only been able to see certain ports. We wouldn't have been able to see all the things that we wanted to see and do. So at that point, I started thinking about how I could reconfigure this trip, and what we decided to do is a road trip in Alaska. Now, we did not drive to Alaska. Someday when I retire, that is on my list, is to do a road trip to Alaska. But we ended up flying into Anchorage. We rented a car, and then we just drove through Alaska. So I just did some journaling about this, about why this trip changed and the kind of the backstory behind it. So that's my journaling there. If you want to read it, you can go ahead and pause it. I think it turned out really, really good. So that was my journaling. One thing that I did before we left on our trip was I created these page dividers, or these day dividers, I guess I should say. So I have one of these for each of the days that we were on our trip. So what I did is I took a piece of acetate and I used my Silhouette Cameo and I cut out large geotags. And then I used my Make a Date stamp to stamp the date that we were each day of our trip. So on the back side of this also, there's a geotag on the back. Now, a large majority of what I have used in this album is 49 & Market. If you guys have seen my stuff before, you know I love 49 & Market. So this, I believe, is paper from the Wherever or the Whenever collection. I just cut out a couple geotags for each day, backed them together. The only thing I did after we got back was added the date, or the places that we were each day. So this particular day was our travel day. We flew from Denver to Anchorage and then drove from Anchorage to Seward. So I've just added those on there. Each day will have a divider like this, specifying where we were each day. And then one thing I've also done is I created, each time that we moved, now we were in 6 different spots, I think. I think we had 6 different hotels throughout this trip. But so one thing I did was took a map. I just blew up a Google map and then added on here how many miles we traveled in that specific section. So because this is our travel day, I did a map from Denver to Anchorage. It was a nonstop flight and we flew 2,413 miles. So it was roughly a 5-ish hour trip. Pardon the pun, but it flew by, and you'll see why in just a minute. It was an amazingly awesome flight. So I have, again, these for each part of our journey. Of the whole album, this is my least favorite part. Now, I may go back after I'm done and redo these. I don't love how blurry the map is. I don't love that these kind of blend in here and make it hard to read. So I may go back and change those. But yeah, this is the part I don't love, but they're there. And, I love the fact that we can see how many miles we traveled and kind of our journey to get where we were. Okay. On this side, again, this is our travel day. So I've just added all kinds of travel bits and pieces that I've collected throughout our journey. These are screenshots from our screenshots of our boarding passes. We did fly Alaska Airlines. Just kind of screenshotted anything I could. On this page, I've added a napkin. This is a paper luggage tag that you can get when you check in your bags if you don't have a tag on your luggage. Just thought that would be kind of fun to add. I've added 49 & Market rub-ons here. This was a little packet of salt and pepper that I dumped the salt and pepper out and added that here. One thing I love about doing these, this kind of album, is I was able to create able to include parts of things that I would use for a junk journal, the little embellishments, the ephemera that I've collected along the way, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a cross between a pocket page album and a junk journal. And I love being able to combine the 2 different worlds to create this album. So over here, we've got our first pocket page. Now this particular pocket page has 6 3x4s. So I've just added, like, this is our parking pass from the parking garage at the airport. We always start our mornings with McDonald's and Starbucks. So that's a photo of that. Same luggage tags as I've got over here. I just had a couple extras, so I just added more there. I always take a shot of our gate showing where we're headed. This is our plane, and then this is just some details about our travel day. And then on the back side, again, we've got more 3x4s. These are photos from the air. I've got photos of my ginger ale over here. I always have ginger ale. And again, combining more junk journal elements. This is the napkin that we got on our flight, as well as a sticker from, we had like fresh baked cookies, which was a lovely treat. And I took the sticker off of the packaging and added that here. This is again another one of the luggage tags and just some journaling about this. Now, once we crossed over British Columbia and into Alaska, the landscape vastly changed and it became unreal. And this is why I say this flight flew by, because it was so unbelievable. And I was taking photos the whole time and I was like, oh my gosh, we can see glaciers. We can see glaciers from the air. This is amazing. So I have all these photos of glaciers from the air. And the really cool thing is that we were able to see the same glaciers on the ground. So these glaciers that we saw from the air, we saw on the different excursions that we were on, and it was just unbelievable. So I've added a 3x4 pocket page card over here with some photos, another 49 and Market rub-on, just added some letters on here just saying glaciers. And then we've got more glaciers over here. I always take a photo. I love the flight tracker, either on my phone or on the seat back display. I love taking a photo of that when we're getting right to, our destination. I love to take that. And this is, us coming into Anchorage. But again, more beautiful. This one is so cool. 2 glaciers. These are tidewater glaciers. We learned this in Alaska because they reach the water. So love that. So pretty. And these are actually ones that we did see on the ground. I believe it's part of the College Fjords. And then over here, I just did another large 8.5 by 11 photo. This is, again, Alaska from the air. Just added the Explore. That's a digital stamp from Ali Edwards as well. Again, just such a pop, a visual pop right there. Breaks up your photos, gives your eye a place to rest, and it's just gorgeous. So I'm so happy with the way that those turned out. And then on the back side, I added one more large photo. Just the glaciers were just amazing. And the fact that I could see this and take this from the air was just insane. Okay, over here, we've got another pocket page. This has 2 4x10s. I've added this little Anchorage sign, got that from scrapbook.com. And then this is a photo of the Anchorage airport as our plane pulled into the gate. So I just took a photo of that and then just added "We are here." And on the back side, I've added photos from inside the airport. It was just really cool. They've got this moose, taxidermied moose here in the middle of the airport. Did a little journaling about the weather because it was absolutely beautiful. I was so worried about what the weather was going to be like in Alaska at the end of August, first part of September. And it could not have been any better. It was 67 degrees when we landed in Anchorage. And other than one day where we had a little bit of rain and some snow overnight, it was absolutely beautiful the entire time we were there. So just did some journaling about that. Over here, we've got another pocket page that has the 6 3x4s. Did a little photo collage here about Moose's Tooth Pizzeria. This had been very highly recommended to us before we left on our trip, so we knew as soon as we left the airport, we picked up our car. Just a little shout out, we used Turo for the first time, and it was phenomenal. It was such a great experience, and I don't know that I would ever use a rental car ever again. Obviously, people's experiences are going to vary, but we had a great experience with Turo, and I would definitely use them again. So it was super convenient. We got a Volkswagen Tiguan. You'll see that in just a minute, but we had the Tiguan for the whole week. The whole arranging of picking it up and dropping it off could not have been easier, and it was just the perfect vehicle for us for this first 7 days of our trip. So on the backside, this is where we started driving from Anchorage to Seward. So as you're driving from Anchorage to Seward, along the Seward Highway, you pass the Turnagain Arm. And I've got a lot of photos of the Turnagain Arm because it was absolutely beautiful. We were able to pull over and stop as long as we wanted, take as many photos as we wanted. Again, the benefit of being on our own and not on a cruise was we got to take as much time as we wanted to get where we wanted. And we could pull over. There's a point on the Turnagain Arm called Beluga Point where you can see a lot of beluga whales. We did pull over for quite a while hoping to see belugas. We did not, but we had the option of sitting there and waiting to see beluga whales if we wanted to. So just photos from the beautiful Turnagain Arm. I added this one in here. This one says 127 miles, and this is the map from Anchorage to Seward. And then on the back side, we've got more photos of the Turnagain Arm. And then I always add embellishments on my pages, on my photos, I should say. I love to add more to the photos than just having the photo. So I like to add some more visual interest. I used my Dymo label maker, and it says Our First Taste of Alaska. And then I've got this large photo that says Turnagain Arm. So the really cool thing about Turnagain Arm is the tide comes in and goes out. And when the tide comes in, people have been known to surf. It's called a boreal tide, and people surf that boreal tide as it comes into Turnagain Arm. So it's just such a unique place, but absolutely beautiful. Then on the back side, we've got another large photo. This again is of Turnagain Arm in the mountains, and I believe those are little waterfalls up there. So just beautiful, beautiful Alaska scenery. And then over here, we've got another page protector. This has 2 4x6s and 2 4x4s. So this was us getting into Seward. It is Alaska's Kenai Peninsula. So just took a photo of the Seward sign, did some journaling along with some embellishments, and then this just gorgeous view pulling into Seward. On the back side, this is documenting the place that we had dinner that night. We got into Seward, we checked into our hotel, and then we headed out to explore a little bit of Seward, and we stopped at Ray's Bar and Grill and had the best halibut fish and chips. As you guys can imagine, seafood in Alaska is unreal. It's insanely expensive, but it was so delicious. So I added this bar coaster here from Ray's, took a photo of the front of the restaurant, added a business card here, added some rub-ons here again, a photo of my meal along with our receipt. So again, just adding those junk journal elements in here to tell the whole story. Over here, I've got a postcard from Seward. And I just added this with some plastic page attachers. The Allie Edwards sells these, and I just cut them down to fit this, but added this postcard here. And then I added a sticker from Seward along with a photo of another sign in Seward. This is from a brochure that we had. This shows the whole downtown Seward area. And then on the back, I put a photo from, this was the view from our room in Seward. We stayed at the Spruce Lodge. It was absolutely beautiful. Flipping this up, we've got a photo of the inside of our room as well as the Tiguan. I didn't really have anywhere to put the Tiguan, so he just was here. So there's that. And again, attach that with those same plastic page attachers. Over here, I just did a little insert. So this has 4 3x4s. Just added some more screenshots of the marina in Seward. I love a marina area. This was absolutely beautiful. This was at sunset, I believe. Just some beautiful photos of all the boats there. Fishing obviously is their main trade there. So created a filler card here. Filler cards are one of my absolute favorite things to add. So we did that. I did that over there. And then just more photos, more embellishments on there. And then we're on to day 2. So I've got the acetate protector. We've got it dated, and it just says Seward to Kenai Fjords National Park. Now, this was one of the most unreal days I've ever had in my whole life. I will never forget this day. I will never forget the experiences that we had, the things that we saw. This was undoubtedly one of my favorite days of my entire life. So we started out in the morning. So the purpose of us going to Seward, again, is because it's the home of the Kenai Fjords National Park. And we had scheduled a 9-hour tour of the Kenai Fjords by boat. So if you're not familiar with the Kenai Fjords, 90% is in the water, and only 10% is accessible by car or by foot. Luckily, between 2 days, we were able to see all of it. But this day we spent out on the water enjoying the beauty of the Kenai Fjords. So this was a photo of the marina area in Seward, and these clouds were unreal. These clouds were just so great, and they made for the best pictures in the morning. You guys will see. It was just stunning. This was a photo I took as we were waiting for our boat to pull up to take us out on our cruise. So again, digital stamping here just says Seward. Okay, then on the back side, I've added 2 photos. These, I believe, are 5x7s. This one is a 5x7. So we did take major marine tours out on the Kenai Fjords. So I just took a picture of my coffee cup with the sunrise over here in the boats and the water. The water, I don't even know how to explain it, was like liquid glass. It was just so, so beautiful. So unreal. This is just another photo that I took from that same area. No, actually, this was our cruise left from Resurrection Bay. And so this is a photo of us heading out into Resurrection Bay. But we've got, like our little parking pass here, and I've added some embellishments. This was a rub-on. This piece right here is a branding strip from the bottom of a piece of 49 and Market paper, and it says, "As soon as I saw you, and I knew an adventure was about to happen," and that sums up our day at Kenai Fjords perfectly. So over here we've got another page protector with 2 more 4x6s and 2 more 4x4s. So just screenshotted our ticket. This was the receipt for our tour. We took the viewfinder out and did a lot of journaling about that. So as we were leaving Resurrection Bay, we ran into these little cuties. So these were sea otters, and they were right by our boat. And we were really worried that they were going to take off, so everybody was rushing to get photos of them. And the captain of our boat said, no, they are used to boat traffic coming in and out of this harbor all day long. It doesn't faze them. They're not going anywhere. So we were able to get photos of these sea otters, and they, 5 minutes into our cruise, this was how this started. So it was so cool. So over here, I've used an out of the page protector page and just added 2 5x7s of this little otter, just, a little bit of a different view. And then I added, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can. I added some letter stickers here that just say sea otters. And I did this for each piece of wildlife that we saw throughout this cruise. So just some embellishments over here. And then on the back side, I added another large photo. So these 2 were just the best. So I was able to take 2 large photos and add them in here. And I just love, again, that pop, that visual interest there. So cool. And on the back side of that one, I've added some bits of literature that we collected from the trip, from the Kenai Fjords trip. So this is a little brochure that we were given, and I went ahead and added it in here, and then added some more photos. So this is photos of Resurrection Bay, just heading out on our cruise. You can see there's still snow on the mountains, and this was, again, end of August. So this was a receipt that we got at the Kenai Fjords gift shop. I bought some stickers, so I added that sticker there. Added this acetate piece on here that just says Explore. So pretty. And then over here, I've created this acetate pocket, and on there I've added this pocket page card that says, "To move, to breathe, to fly, to float, to gain all while you give, to roam the roads of lands remote, to travel is to live." And that's by Hans Christian Andersen. And I thought that was so perfect for this trip. So in this pocket, I kept our map of the Kenai Fjords, because this is a national park, so we got the national park map. And then this is just brochure from our actual cruise. So you can see they have a handful of different cruises that you can take. Everything from a 4-hour up to an 8.5 hour. Sorry, let me grab a drink here. And it tells you, where you'll go. You get to see, based on the map here, where you go. We did the longest cruise, so we did all of this. We went into all of these different areas. So that's really cool. I'm glad we have that. And I always like to grab more than one map or one brochure so that I can cut one up if I want to, and then I can leave one whole. So my whole ones are in there. Then over here, I've added this postcard of Kenai Fjords National Park. This postcard has Spire Cove on it. Now, when I was researching this trip and I knew that we had to go to Kenai Fjords, Spire Cove was one of the things that you see in almost all the photos of Kenai Fjords because it is breathtaking. And it was the one thing that I was like, I have to see this. I have to see this in person. So this was the main reason that we booked this particular cruise. So Kenai Fjords National Park postcard, and on the back I just added some more photos. Oh no, sorry, this is our travel passport stamp that you can get from each national park in the gift shop. So I've got that, I've added it here, and then I just added this little tag that says Wanderlust Calls. Over here we've got a couple more photos in a divided page protector or pocket page protector. So just added a bunch of photos. This is a filler card. I love to create filler cards, so I love the way that that turned out. And just added lots of photos. Same thing over here. I was able to add a rub-on to the photo. It says relax and take the scenic route. Again, with another filler card over here. Again, just breaks up the photos, gives your eye a place to rest. I love to do that. Filler cards, rarely ever do I have pocket pages that are full of just photos. I've always got filler cards. I always like to use embellishments to break up the photos, all that kind of stuff. I'm always adding that throughout. This was us coming into Spire Cove. The scenery, look at those clouds. Unreal, just unreal. This is coming into Spire Cove, and these rocks just jut out of the ocean, and they've got the trees growing on top of them, and it just makes for such dramatic scenery. So I've got that full-size one here, and then on the back I've got another photo of that. So pretty. And then over here, I took that same map from the brochure and just cut that out and added this here so that you could see all where we went, and then added I believe this is another 5x7 photo that just says Spire Cove. Added some embellishments on here. And then on the back side, I've added another postcard on here, added embellishments up here, and then one of my favorite photos from Spire Cove. Another 5x7 there. Over here we've got some more pockets, so 3x4 pockets with filler cards, embellishments breaking it up, but just absolutely stunning. So beautiful. Lots of journaling. I love to add smaller photos onto a 3x4 card and then add embellishments. That's another one of my favorite things to do inside of pockets. Over here we've got more, just lots of photos of Spire Cove. Lots and lots. And then we've got one large photo. And again, the clouds just made for the most stunning photos. It was unreal. And then on the back side, we saw some harbor seals. So as we made our way out of Spire Cove, we came across this area of the park where harbor seals are hang out, and so we got photos of lots of the harbor seals. And the only reason, let me just mention this quickly too, I took along a very large telephoto lens. We were quite far away from these harbor seals. I took along a very large telephoto lens. I knew if there was one trip to do that on, it would be this, and I am eternally grateful that I decided to do that. I do not own a large telephoto lens. I rented it, and I've been known to do that a couple times. I've done it for Yellowstone and the Tetons, and now I've done it for Alaska, and I love it. Very large telephoto lenses are extremely expensive, and I don't feel like it would be worth it for me to invest in one when I would only use it once every couple years. So I use a company called Lens Rentals, and they have all kinds of photography equipment available for rent. I did rent this large telephoto lens, and it made all the difference in the world. You'll see that in just a minute. But I was able to get great shots of these harbor seals, which I definitely could not have gotten with my phone, or even just the telephoto lens that I do have. It doesn't have enough reach on it to get the clear photos that I did of these so cute harbor seals. So that is definitely a tip for you. If you're doing a trip where you want to be able to take great photos, consider renting a large lens, because it really did make the difference. So then we also came upon a sea lion rookery. So these, all these are little sea lions hanging out here. They were all over everywhere. And then there's some more close-ups of them. So I added Steller sea lions on here. They were so cute. And then we saw some fin whales. Sorry, my camera turned off. We got to see some fin whales. Now, we didn't get great shots of them because they just were floating through the water. But I did get some shots of them on here. They're not great, but that's okay. And then over here on this filler card, I added a pin back. My husband bought a pin at the gift shop, and I kept the back of it because it had like information about Kenai Fjords National Park. So I went ahead and kept the pin back and then just added some embellishments on that and created a filler card with that. Over here, we've got another postcard from the Kenai Fjords. It has some puffins on it. And so I added a couple puffin photos on the back side of that. So we were able to see puffins. We saw two different kinds of puffins. These are the tufted puffins. So I added a picture of them on there. And then over here, I've got another smaller insert. So this is the 4 3x4s. And this is some time that we spent in front of the glaciers. This was unreal. Just to be parked in a boat in complete silence in front of these massive, massive glaciers was something I will never forget. We were in front of this very large glacier, which I'll show you in just a minute, very large glacier. And to hear the ice move and to crack is something I will never forget. We did an excursion late, a couple days after this, where we did a glacier cruise, and we were able to hear a glacier calve, and it was unreal, the sound of that. So this was just breathtaking. Again, something I will never forget my whole life. Just sitting there in dead silence with a crowd of people in front of these massive glaciers was just amazing, amazing, amazing. So we've got photos of, photos of the glaciers. And then I've got a large photo over here, and it says, "Go see Dew." That's a acetate piece from Ali Edwards. So I've added that on there. And then on the back side, this was one that I loved to create. So these are digital files from Ali Edwards, and I think it was from her 2025 travel kit, maybe. I don't quite remember, but they are definitely Ali Edwards, and it's a film strip. And I just went in and digitally added photos from the glaciers, and I love the way this turned out. Added some digital stamping there. I will definitely be doing this again. I just love the impact of this. So it's something different. It's not, photo after photo. It's just, I just love it. I love the way that turned out. And then we've got a large photo over here of this glacier. And then on this side, this is the glacier that we parked in front of for a while. And look at that blue. Look at that blue. It's so amazing. The water was blue. Yeah, I just love this. So I felt like this glacier deserved a full-size page. So then over here, I've just got a couple more photos of the glacier, and I did a lot of journaling here. Now, I'll just kind of sum it up, what had happened next. So we left the bay where we were sitting with these glaciers. This was called the Northwestern Glacier. Absolutely jaw-dropping. We left the bay and headed from Resurrection Bay into the Gulf of Alaska. Now, when I was reading reviews on this particular cruise, I had seen that people were commenting on seasickness. And I tend to get seasick, so I prepared myself. I had taken Bonine, I had taken Dramamine. I brought things with me. I had brought ginger tablets with me, the whole bit. I had not needed them all morning long. This was probably about lunchtime by the time that we headed out into the Gulf of Alaska. I don't know what it is about the water of Gulf of Alaska versus the water in Resurrection Bay, but it was night and day difference. And I had spent the whole morning out on the bow of the boat taking pictures, just soaking in the whole experience. Once we hit that Gulf of Alaska, I thought I was going to lose it. I came back inside. My husband spent most of the day just sitting inside. I had come inside and sat with him, and I thought I was going to die. I'm like, I am going to lose my lunch. I was popping ginger tablets like crazy, just head down on the table the whole bit. I was like, I just can't handle this. I can't do it. And then the naturalist or the captain came on and said that Jack, the naturalist on board, had just spotted a humpback whale. Now, this was something I had hoped and hoped and hoped would happen on this trip. But due to our timing, when we were in Alaska, at this point in time, a large majority of the whales were migrating south to Hawaii. The females go there, they give birth to their calves, and they raise them in Hawaii and then head back up the next summer back to Alaska. So I knew, based on our timing, that we probably were not going to get to see whales. So to hear this, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. There's a whale? I jumped out of my seat so fast and ran back for the bow of the boat. I could not get out there fast enough. So our boat is racing towards this whale. Turns out this whale was a juvenile humpback whale. He had no reason to leave Alaska because obviously he's not a female, so he's not giving birth, and he's not mating right now, so he stays in Alaska. So thank heaven for this juvenile male. It made my day. Excuse me. Hold on. It absolutely made my day. So the next thing that I've added over here, I've got this postcard, another postcard, Kenai Fjords. This one has a breaching whale in it with Spire Cove, just sums up the whole day. And then just on the back side, I added a business card for the cruise that we were on, and then just did some journaling about what happened next. So over here on this page, this is a full page. This isn't outside of the page protector. I've added some photos of this breaching whale. Now this is where my lens rental paid for itself, because we were, per maritime law, you cannot be within 100 yards of a whale. So we were not close to this whale, but with the lens that I had rented, I was able to capture this moment, and it was absolutely unreal. This male breached 3 times in front of us, and in between each time that he would breach, he would be underwater, but he would slap his fins on the water, and we all just sat there with our jaws open, just couldn't grasp what was happening in front of us. It was so absolutely amazing. So then on the back side, of course, I had to add a large photo of this breaching whale. Added the letters for humpback whale. And then over here, I just added some more photos of this epic, epic moment. So it was crazy. I used the burst on my camera, so I was able to capture every single second of the 3 breaches that this whale did. It was absolutely unreal. Got a little picture of his tail. Yeah, it was everything I could have hoped for. So then on the backside, that whale was at the end of our day. And so on the backside of those photos, I went ahead and added just some kind of wrapping up our day photos. So as we made our way through the Kenai Fjords, they tracked it on this map. And then they also numbered where we were and what we saw. So at the end of our trip, I took a picture of this and I just copied the information over here. So, it just says the sea otter at the breakwall, 2 sea otters, Bear Glacier, Spire Cove, harbor seals, fin whales, stellar sea lions, puffins. We did see a Doll porpoise, but it was much too fast for me to get a photo. We saw a sea otter nursery. Just all that kind of stuff was documented on this little poster, and so I just added it here. We got off the cruise and then headed for a place called the Salmon Bake. And so I grabbed a business card of theirs, just added it here along with a photo that I took of the front of the menu, and just did a little journaling about what an amazing day was. There was nothing that could have topped this day. It was absolutely epic. And then over here, I just added in here our junior deckhand activity book. This is a kid's book that they give you on board to kind of keep kids entertained, but I thought it would be fun to add. And then I also like on the inside that you get the animals that you could see on your trip, and it says color in the animals that you see on your cruise. And so I colored in all the animals that we saw. So there you go. There's that. And then I just added that with those page attachers. love the way that turned out. Okay, day 3. So I'm sorry, guys, we're getting to the end. I know this is long. Day 3, we went from Seward to Anchorage. So here's my day divider. So before we left Seward, as I mentioned before, 90% of Kenai Fjords is in the water, 10% is accessible by land. I decided to go out on a hike to see the 10% that was accessible by land, which is an area of the park called Exit Glacier. The really cool thing about Exit Glacier is that they have tracked, I believe for the last 80 some years, they've tracked how much this glacier has melted and retreated. So even before you pull into the actual national park area, you'll see signs with years on them. And I'll show you that in just a second. But it's where that glacier was in that particular year. So as you can see, this glacier is way back here now, but that was not always the case. 100 years ago, this glacier covered this entire area. And so it's just really interesting to see the effects of global warming on this glacier, this particular glacier. So, but before we started out in our, the lodge that we stayed at, they had a little coffee place. And so I took a photo of the cute little coffee names that they had here. There's one called Tiramisu, Polar Bear, which I got. It was white mocha, toasted marshmallow, and coconut. Absolutely delicious. So grabbed a coffee and then we went out to the glacier. So I did some journaling about the glacier, took a picture of my coffee cup with the glacier in the background. I love that photo. And then just added a little bit of journaling journaling and embellishments on that photo. Then on this side, I added the Kenai Fjords National Park sticker that we got at the gift shop. This is a map that I cut out of the Kenai Peninsula, just a photo of the Exit Glacier area. This is the passport stamp for the national parks, got that. And then I took my Instax printer and I created Instax photos from 2 of my photos. I did this after the fact. I don't have an actual Instax camera, but I have the Instax printer. And through the Instax app, you can add your photos and print it out so it looks like they were printed on the Instax, which obviously is an old school Polaroid. So I love the way that turned out. And again, just breaking up the way that the pictures are represented. I love to do that. So then this is a photo of the overlook. Just took a large photo and blew it up and showed the glacier. Then on the back side, we've got another large photo here of the Kenai Fjords National Park entrance sign. And then we've got a little insert over here. This, I added my travel stamp from Kenai Fjords on here. Another photo, lots of embellishments. And then on the back side of that, this is where the photos are that show the signs. So I did some journaling about the glacier melting, and then I added photos that I took along the way. So this is 1917, 1926, 51, 61, 2005, and then 2010. So you can see, like, to know how far back this was is crazy, because this whole entire area was once covered by glacier, and now all that's left is just this little bit. Pretty crazy. So over here we've just got some Kenai Fjords, picture of me with the Kenai Fjords sign, my husband and I, and then just photos of the forest, actually, because the whole fjord, or the whole glacier area, is surrounded by forest. So just some really pretty, you can see fall was starting to creep in there. That's just 4 2x2 photos. The glacier runoff. Just more photos. This over here is my favorite page in this entire album. I love the way this turned out, and I will definitely be doing this again. I had a lot of photos from this area that I didn't know what to do with because I was kind of running out of room. So I needed to consolidate some space. So what I did was I took a large photo and I cut it in half, and then I added this to it. So this part flips out, and you can see I've got some photos just of the glacier area over here. Took a little selfie of me with the glacier. And then that folds up. Put a little tab on here just so you could know to open that. And then the back side is just another full-size photo. So that's one of my favorite photos. I just labeled it Exit Glacier. I think it's so cool. So then after that, before we left Seward, we stopped by the Kenai Fjords Visitor Center. We also stopped at this Lighthouse Cafe and Bakery for lunch. So I added the receipts in there, and then just added photos from the visitor center and then some journaling about that. And then over here, I've added this little map. We drove back from Seward to Anchorage. Again, same 127 miles. And as we got on our way into Anchorage, we decided to pull over and have lunch. So we stopped on the side of the road and just had lunch with this beautiful, beautiful view. So just some photos from that and some journaling. And then this was our stay in Anchorage on that second day. So we stayed at the lakefront Anchorage. So this is just photos of the hotel. This is our hotel key. And then this is a postcard I think I got with something. And then just added a little bit of embellishments over there. And then that night we went to 49th State Brewing for dinner. So I added a couple of their bar mats here, did some journaling. And then we had to stop at Walmart because my suitcase broke. So I've only had this suitcase for a couple of years. It was a Snow White suitcase. I bought it, I think, during COVID. And I only used it like twice. But it's been sitting in my closet. And the first morning that we were heading out to the airport, we lifted it up by one of the handles and the handle broke. And I thought, well, great, we'll just have to fix this or replace this at some point. When we got to the airport and the poor guy at the check-in desk went to put my bag on the conveyor belt, another handle broke. So it has this received damaged on there. It was a mess. So we didn't have time to stop and replace it before we went to Seward. But when we got back into Anchorage, we went to Walmart and I had to get a new suitcase. Had to throw that one away. It was a whole thing. So I had to document that. And then on the back side, this is just our 49th State dinner. Had the receipt there. Just some stuff from 49th State Brewing. This was the toothpick that was in my husband's burger. Yeah, part of the receipt, the card that you get with your bill, that kind of stuff. So there you go. Thank you. If you have made it this long, thank you for hanging in there with me. I know this was a long flip through, but there was a lot from this trip to talk about. So there you have it. If you guys have any questions, any comments, leave them for me down below. I love to read your guys' comments. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the trip, answer any questions about any products I've used, any of that. So again, thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate you guys. And you guys take care, and I will see you soon with another video. Have a great day. Bye.